Welcome back to FAQ Friday. You guys have had a lot of great questions in the comments section over the past couple of weeks. I've got them right here, so let's go ahead and get right into it. The first question is from Agapimo. Fantastic, succinct, helpful tips. Thank you. Thank you. The question is, if planting different varieties so close together, don't they cross-pollinate? This is on one of the tomato videos. And the answer in most cases is yes, they will cross-pollinate. Without pollinators, most likely they will not, because they are a perfect flower. They have the male and female parts in the same flower, so the pollen doesn't have to go very far. However, if a bee comes over or another pollinator and has pollen from another tomato on its legs or body, then you most likely will get some cross-pollination. Excuse me. But that, unless you're saving the seeds for next year, that really doesn't matter, because cross-pollination is not going to affect the taste or anything about the fruit for this year. Now, I am going to be doing a seed saving video at the end of this season, so we can learn how to save our seeds and how to keep them the same year after year, and what seeds you can save and what seeds you can't. So stay tuned for that. Okay, the next question is from EOD Vet. I'm sure that stands for something, but I don't know what. This wasn't really a question, actually. It was a comment, and it was an important one, so I wanted to bring it up on the video. You can hand pollinate corn as well. The tassels will come first, and the ears will silk. So at the top of a corn plant, if you're not familiar and you're growing it for the first time this year, there are these interesting little antenna looking things that are the tassels, and they're full of pollen. And you'll know because when you tap on them, you'll see dust come showering down. Now, like I mentioned in the last video, corn is wind pollinated naturally. And so you want to have it in a group. So when the wind blows, it blows it onto more corn. And if it's in one single row, it would just blow it away. You can hand pollinate. And actually, I do this, and I probably will do a video when it's time to do that, because you do get better pollination. So if you've ever opened an ear of corn and there's spaces missing, that's because those kernels were not pollinated. If you look at the end of the corn, you always know the corn silk is hanging out the end. Each one of those silks corresponds to a kernel of corn. And so whichever silk is not pollinated, that corn kernel will not fully develop. So to make sure that they do, when you have the silk, and when the tassels start to produce pollen, you can cut the tassels off and you can just use them on the silk like a little duster. And that will do a better job of making sure each one of those silks gets pollinated. So thank you for bringing that up, EOD Vet. The next question is from Sue Davis. My neighbor swears by putting lime around the plants. What are your thoughts on this? And is it safe for children to eat the tomatoes? So if you have acidic soil, and tomatoes do like a little bit of acidity in their soil, not much, but just a little more acidic than neutral. Now, if you're really acidic, then you might want to raise the pH, and garden lime does do that. Make sure you get, there's lime that's used for different things, and some could have other chemicals in them, but lime in itself is totally safe, and it will increase the pH of the soil to help your tomatoes. But like I said, unless your soil is really acidic, it's probably not needed. The next question is from Irabelle Stratton, and this is on the Growing Strawberries in Rain Gutters video, oldie but goodie. And she wants to know, she's having a problem with her strawberries. In the beginning, they were very sweet. Now they're not. What do I need to do or not do? So I'm not sure if this is the first season and the first few strawberries were good and now they're not, or if this is like several years in. Basically, strawberries are best in their second and third year. But if it's the first part of the crop of the season were good and now they're not so sweet anymore, there are a few things that you can do. Strawberries do like a slightly acidic soil, so you could put maybe some sulfur, garden sulfur, definitely not lime. That would do the opposite. They do need a lot of sun, 8 hours of sun. They like a really well draining soil, so if you're growing it in a container, maybe add some sand or some perlite. And the variety also matters. Although if they were sweet in the beginning and not so sweet, maybe not so much the variety, but if you're looking for some sweet varieties, a couple are Ozark Beauty and Sparkle. Those are two sweet varieties, but I think the more sun you can give them, the better. And they do like well draining soil. And keep them fertilized with a high middle number. If you use the Neptune's Harvest tomato and veg formula, that's a great one. I'll put a link down below to that. Okay, the next question is from JTam's Mom 5. And she asks, what can I do about caterpillars? They love my basil as much as I love my basil, only I don't want to share. When I find them, I pick them off, but sometimes they eat a lot before I can find them. Help. So yeah, picking them off is a good way, but sometimes you miss them or they're hard to find. The best thing by far, and I will preach this forever, is BT. BT spray. I'll put a link to this down below to the one I use, but basically it is a miracle when it comes to caterpillars. It works almost immediately, and if you apply it right when you see any damage or a caterpillar, and then you apply it every week or 2 weeks, depending on how many you have, it will take care of them. Like I said, almost immediately, and it will do it really well. It's organic and it's totally safe to use around edibles, which is what we're growing, right? So I hope that answers your question. I'll put a link to the BT down below. And like I said, it's one of my go-to 2 sprays, neem oil and the BT. The next one is from Samantha Woodman. Does anyone know why the veins of my tomato leaves are turning purple? I do. When you see that, you have a phosphorus deficiency. And ideally, what you want to do in the beginning before you plant, if you go back to the planting video, you want to put phosphorus in the hole because it doesn't move very well through the soil. Great way to do that is the crab and lobster shell from Neptune's Harvest. But if you've already got it planted, they actually have a liquid version that moves a little easier through the soil. It's crab and lobster. I'll put that down below. But any liquid organic fertilizer with a high middle number, that's the phosphorus, that's going to help you out. All right, so the next question is from Plants Over Pills. I like that. This is from the original tomato video last year, and I did say, I think I said it this year too, is I pinch off the first truss of flowers on my tomatoes because it lets the plant put more production or energy into the roots and the plant. But Plants Over Pills asks, would you still recommend initial flower pinching in a short, cool Zone 5 climate? Zone 5, you guys have pretty short growing seasons. And so in that situation, I would not recommend pinching the flowers off because you need to get that plant producing as quick as possible so you can have as many tomatoes as possible. So if you started them indoors, I might still do that. If not, skip that step and move right on because you want to get the most amount of tomatoes on there before and ripening before the cold weather comes again. All right, the next question is from Denise C. And this was in the last tomato video that we did on pollinating. She asks, does the pollinating trick work in other flowering plants as well, like watermelon, cucumbers, etc.? No. As I mentioned in that video, tomatoes have perfect flowers, meaning the male and the female parts are in the same flower, so the pollen doesn't have to go very far to pollinate. And so just flicking it, using the toothbrush, all of that is going to take care of it. Now that does work on some of the other nightshade plants like eggplant, potatoes, peppers, so you can use that on them. And it also works in beans, I believe, but beans really kind of get pollinated pretty easily. So that's the only plants you can use that on. Other plants like squash, you have a male flower and a female flower, and I'm going to be doing a video on that probably within the next week or two. because there have been a lot less pollinators, or as somebody corrected my grammar, a lot fewer pollinators recently. And so we do sometimes need to hand pollinate our squash plants and some other things, and I'm going to be showing you how to do that. Mr. Titan Scout asks, hey bud, do you plant the sweet potato slips on the bottom of the container, filling it up with soil as it grows like tomatoes and potatoes? Or do you plant them at soil level? Which method will produce more results? All right, so I had planned, if you watched my video a couple of months ago about starting the sweet potato slips, and a lot of you have been looking for an update, and I was all ready to update until this past week. I don't even know what happened. The sweet potato about a month ago started to rot, so I cut most of the potato off, but there was a lot of roots already and there was a lot of leaves and slips starting. And up until a little over a week ago, it looked completely healthy. It was watered, everything was fine, and I woke up one morning and it had wilted overnight, and by later that day it was crisp and dead. I don't know what I did, and I can't find slips right now, so it looks like sweet potatoes are out for me this year, unfortunately. So I hope you guys had better luck that started the slips like me. And if you've had that problem and maybe you know what it is, please let me know, because I haven't grown sweet potatoes very much and I was really looking forward to it. But anyway, back to your question. Do you plant them on the bottom like potatoes and fill the soil as they grow? And the answer is no, because sweet potatoes are not related to potatoes at all, and they don't grow the same way. They're actually related to morning glories. And so you want to plant them a little deep, maybe, a couple inches below the soil level, but that's it. You don't fill on top as it grows. They will grow down and they will hopefully fill your container or your raised bed with lots of sweet potatoes. All right, the next question. The next question is from Diana Dogwood. You explained everything very plainly and easy to follow. Thank you, I try. I only have a few tomatoes as I'm the only one who will eat them at my house. I have a problem with leaves curling and I don't know what's causing it. Any thoughts? There are 3 or 4 things that cause that, most of which is nothing to worry about. And we've had a ton of these questions, Diana. And so this coming Tomato Tuesday, just a few days from now, the entire episode is going to be devoted to leaf curl, why it's happening, and what you can do about it. So definitely stay tuned for that. All right, that's all the questions for today. I do love reading your questions. In the last couple of weeks, I've been in and out with headaches. I can say right now, I am 3 days completely headache-free, and fingers crossed that will continue. And so I hope to be getting back to a normal video schedule this Sunday for Self-Sufficient Sunday, and then Tuesday for the leaf curl video, and just continuing on after that. So thank you for all the well wishes and thoughts and prayers. I really do appreciate it. And I still am reading your questions, and when I can answer them, I try. Emails are getting backlogged though. I'm getting tons of emails every day. So if I'm not answering your question, hopefully that's because I've chosen it for one of these. Otherwise, the best place to ask them is on YouTube in the comments though, because the emails do get backed up really quickly, and YouTube does a good job of reminding you which ones you've answered and which ones you haven't. So anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you're subscribed. If not, consider it. Give the video a thumbs up if you learned something, and I will see you on Self-Sufficient Sunday.